Hi, I'm Shannon Anderson. I'm the Senior Curator at the Art Gallery of Mississauga. I'm standing here today just before the opening reception of our 5th annual Juried Show of Visual Arts. Each year, the gallery has a juried show exhibition, and we gather the works together from an open call for submissions that goes out to anyone who is an emerging or established artist in Ontario, and they can submit their work for consideration for the juried show. We usually have a cap of about 300 submissions that we're allowed to take in, and we usually reach that cap before the deadline comes. And at that point, we evaluate the submissions that come through a panel of 3 jurors that we invite to come to the gallery each year and review the digital submissions. From there, they evaluate the submissions independently, and then they get together as a group and they come to an agreement of about 35 pieces that they'd like to include in the final exhibition. So this year, these are the selections that we have on view. At the opening reception, we'll also be giving out some prizes for the winners that the jurors have selected.
My name's James Fowler. The work in the exhibition that I have is called Formidable Fish, and it's about community, and it's about how particularly the queer community is looked at as a monolith. And if you look at the artwork very closely, you'll actually see that the pin buttons that I've used, which are sort of fictitious organizations that are including queer people in ice fishing culture or in ice fishing. And so the idea behind it is that each button represents a faction of the community or a part of the community, but when the community all gets together behind one cause, it becomes a formidable force.
So my name is Prisha Shaw, and I am an artist from Carleton Place, Ontario. And my piece is called Shifted Surfaces, and it draws upon the earthy qualities of clay combined with the brutalist and science fiction inspired geometries that would encourage the viewer to challenge from where and what time the piece had come from and reflect on their own experiences and their own visual design cues that would signify in their mind where the piece exists. So in a way, it could exist in multiple timelines depending on who's viewing the piece. My name is Emmett Lewis, and I did this piece called Fauna. It's a 40 by 40 portrait on wood. I love playing with materiality, especially when it reflects my subject. So a lot of my work revolves around how we shape our environments and how our environments shape us. So using organic materials to really emphasize those meanings is kind of my niche.
My name is Ryan McPherson, and the painting is The Blues. It's done in oil with pastels. For the meaning, really, it's tough to say. It's really hard for me to say because if you could say it in words, there's not much point to painting it. Painting, the whole idea is to paint the ineffable, literally, like something that can't be said in a poem, can't be said in any writing or speech is where painting exists. That's why it's there, is to put very, very, very subtle ideas. But I think at the end of it, it is a poem about just an uncomfortable sitting with it. You have this space where it's blue, obviously it's the blues. And, you know, it's a little up there, but to say like Schopenhauer said, you know, that you have 2 states of being, basically, wanting and ennui. And I think if you're privileged enough to sit naked alone in a chair, you kind of probably have everything. Even though you have nothing, you kind of have everything. And then you're just sitting there alone, you're like, well, what is there? You know, I'm safe, I'm warm, I've got it, and now I'm in my chair, and I can think, but at the end of the day, you know, there's this subtlety to it that's gone. And that's where I would say it comes from, really. Is this, yeah, the tension of reflection in a way.
My name is Maya Winter Houston Gates, and my piece is Redeem Your Reputation. So it's a self-portrait of sorts, more about the physical representation of creative autonomy and kind of the weight and the pressure behind being able to make whatever and wanting to create your best piece or your like magnum opus of sorts, and how that can be paralyzing. And so it's kind of just like a physical representation of that paralyzing, crushing nature of creative autonomy.
My name's Janelle Smith, and I'm a photographer, and my piece is about the grief that I experienced from losing my father about 3 years ago. So this is me coming back to the land in Jamaica, which is his generational home. And I was just wanting to document like my experience back in Jamaica and how I relive and feel about my grief back with the home. So with my entire like photography career, I usually talk about things based on like technology, race, and social media and stuff like that. So technically this is kind of new, talking about like what family matters and stuff. And I wanted to explore a little bit more into like how my family life and how photography mingle together.
I won one of the Jurors' Choice Awards. Very pleased to do so. It was a total surprise, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have somebody, because they were just gonna have one award, and to hear that the jurors were willing to, advocate for the individual work so passionately to divide it into three is very meaningful, because it means that somebody cares enough about these paintings that they really care about making it happy. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's a great honor. I was super excited. I just graduated, so I'm an emerging artist of sorts. This is my first kind of show independent from school, and I feel super privileged to be a part of the amazing show.
We invite you to come and see the exhibition in person and to keep your eye out for our call for submissions when it comes out next year so that you can become a participating artist in our juried show.
Hi, and I'm Anna Globinski, the Executive Director, and I invite you to become a member of the Art Gallery of Mississauga and support us all year round. Please check out our website and join and become a member.